Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo, and today I've got Hoops right beside me. How you doing?
What's going on, man? Overall, I've been doing good still. Same as usual, the work schedule, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Uh, Usually during work, the days go by relatively slow, but try to stay busy. So usually when it is a little bit busier, time doesn't go as bad, honestly. Um, Afterwards, usually per usual, just go to the gym, have dinner, take a shower, and then like maybe scroll on the phone, watch some videos, and then go to bed and repeat cycle. So overall, just hanging in there to be honest. How you've been?
I've been pretty good. It's been a weird week for me, not gonna lie. Just very busy with not only work but school. I've got a few kind of bigger assignments due this weekend, and I procrastinated a little bit, but like I'm confident that I'll get it done. And then like if you're not familiar that like I'm also like very into hip hop and music and stuff. Right now it's been a big week for rap beefs. Kendrick Lamar versus
Oh yeah.
Drake.
The last month has been crazy with rap beefs, like you know, Kendrick versus Drake, throwing some shots at J. Cole unnecessarily, even though it was mostly directed at Drake. I didn't really get that, I will admit.
I'm like
Um,
so
um,
invested right now. It's crazy. I make TikToks like every 10 minutes because there's stuff going on. Like today Kendrick, like at 6 a.m. in the morning, dropped a diss track, and then later tonight, Drake dropped a diss track, and then 20 minutes after Drake dropped a diss track, Kendrick dropped another diss track, and it's like one of the most evil, vile, like disgusting diss tracks I've ever heard. It was so mean, like it was bad. It's a lot to get
yeah,
into. Like, this is a basketball
yeah, I'm not.
podcast, but it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I knew that they did a few diss tracks against each other, but I didn't know it got to the point that they were doing like several, like within the span of hours
Yeah, it
or
just
even
happened
minutes.
today, dude. It was like
Yeah,
crazy. It came out of nowhere. It really did.
yeah. A lot of wild beefs lately in the rap game. We could be going on about this, but obviously it's a basketball podcast.
Yeah.
Um, but potentially, I have appeared on Memo's Alternatives, his channel for his hip hop channel in the past, and maybe we'll do one of those again in the future. So if you guys are interested, you can feel free to check that out whenever the time comes, and that would definitely be something fun for sure.
Yeah, I not gonna lie, I'm still working on that video just because I've been busy, but it's a good video that you guys should check out when it's out.
Definitely.
But one more thing before wrap. I mean, before I guess we wrap this part up. But one more thing about rap music, I guess, is that we are gonna do something fun tomorrow, right? We're gonna go see Quavo. That's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Excited?
Yeah, that's definitely gonna be cool. I'm definitely excited for it. Obviously, um, probably not the best member from Migos per se. I am a big Migos fan, honestly.
You're
I do
probably a
like
bigger
Offset,
Migos fan than I am, I think. But I do like Quavo.
probably. Yeah, I do like Quavo too. I was actually like, kind of like jokingly thought to myself, because you know how Quavo was like getting roasted badly by Chris Brown a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I was wondering if you
So
knew about that.
yeah, I was almost jokingly wondering if he was gonna cancel the concert due to embarrassment. Imagine
That'd be
that
crazy.
would have been a bad look.
I've been imagining like
Yeah.
what if like someone randomly just starts chanting "fuck Chris Brown, fuck Chris Brown," and then the whole crowd just goes "fuck Chris Brown," and then it just hypes up Quavo even more. That'd be sick.
Hey, hey, I wouldn't mind that honestly. That'd be cool. not really a fan of Chris Brown, honestly.
Same,
And I know
same.
you aren't either. So yeah, that would be a fun chant to have.
Yeah. So,
Sorry if any of you guys are Breezy fans, but nothing personal, just personal preferences, you know.
but to be honest, being a Breezy fan in 2024 is crazy. That's nasty
Yeah, it
work.
is. And, like one, his music is not good. Two, he's like a weird dude, does some bad stuff in the past, obviously. Rihanna incident, the most infamous one.
Hmm.
It goes on, but I think that definitely tomorrow gonna be a fun day. Last year we went to our so this is a spring annual spring concert at our university. So last year the two of us went for the first time, and that one was Amine who was performing. That was
Fire.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, due to the budget of universities, probably they get paid a little bit lower than regular concerts, so they don't have as much stage time as you would really like.
It was kind of
So
short.
maybe he was on stage. Yeah, he was on stage for like what, under an hour, maybe like 40 minutes, something like that,
Yeah.
or 30 minutes. Yeah, which is obviously not ideal, but I think they made it fun because the DJ was pretty good and he
The
was
DJ
like
was good
pretty happy.
before Amita came out. You killed it.
Yeah. So hopefully the DJ there tomorrow will also be good. Um,
You know who else is gonna
but
be
yeah,
there?
who else? I
Cody
know there was a
Ko.
third person, right?
Do you know Cody Ko?
And oh, I don't actually. I saw his name, but he's pretty well known. Like
I
another DJ or
He's well known, but he's well known for his YouTube stuff. He blew up off of Vine, and then he became famous on YouTube, like doing, making videos, funny videos. Like I've watched them; they're pretty good. And then he does now like make some music,
oh,
but
okay.
I never really thought his music was like that crazy. But it's been a while since I've checked out his stuff, so maybe he will come through tomorrow with a good performance.
Okay, so even though he's more well known for being like a YouTuber, he's gonna also perform some. Actually, he'll probably mainly do songs, right? I'm
Yeah, yeah.
assuming because
He
it's
does make music. He does
concert,
make
not a
music.
talent show.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, and I think the concert tomorrow is sold out too, so there's gonna be hella people there.
Oh yeah, I heard about technically saw I checked out the IG page and I saw it said sold out. So yeah, um definitely fun times ahead. We'll see.
For sure. But enough of that. Enough of our little yap. Let's talk about some basketball. We're gonna go over each first round matchup because most of them are done. The only one that is not done is the why am I blinking? Cavs versus Magic. That is going to Game 7. The funny, the most boring matchup is the one that's going to Game
Yeah,
7.
I
Uh,
know that's crazy.
it is, but
Yeah,
yeah, I guess we'll start with the West as always because the West Coast is the best coast, and we'll do OKC
right.
versus Pelicans, which um, ended up sweeping. It ended up being a sweep. I've been making TikToks on uh, our like basketball TikTok page that you can check out. Link is in the bio, and I've been covering like each series like after they end, and mention how like this was a sweep, but it didn't feel like it should have been a sweep because of how promising the Pelicans are. And sure, like if Zion was in this game, they wouldn't have swept. And it looked like after the first game that maybe they will get a win in there, but OKC just came through. With Shea balling out of his mind, Luke Dort like guarding Brandon Ingram like crazy. Ingram had a really bad series. So did McCollum. McCollum had a bad series. The Pelicans couldn't get their offense going at all. To the point where there was a game where they were looking at Valanciunas as the answer. He was getting touches in the post, and he was like getting some buckets. But like when your answer is a center that plays like an old school center, against a team that can shoot threes like crazy, that can shoot the mid range game, that can do it all on like every level of the floor. You're not. It's a numbers battle. You're not gonna be able to outscore them. So this was a sweep that I think I did not predict. I think I said this would be in five, but OKC proved that they are the first seed for a reason. They proved that they are insane even at their very very young age. So, what were your thoughts about this series? It was a pretty competitive, fun series, I guess, but it would have definitely been a lot more fun and competitive if Zion was in there. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Um, so pretty much I agree that it was definitely seemingly much closer than it really was, and definitely didn't expect a sweep either. Um, when I was making predictions, I believe I said five or maybe even six, honestly. Quite honestly, if the Pelicans could have like finished one of those games, they were close. Maybe it could have been 2-2, at least 3-1 at the end of four games. But OKC just proved that they were far superior, and obviously the clear-cut number one seed for a reason. Well, I don't know about clear cut, but like the reason why they were a one seed was because they were a really good team this year. Um, so of course, game one and game four were both pretty close and competitive. Game two and three were blowouts. So definitely Pelicans could have taken one, but OKC proved that they're looking for real. And credit to them, they were able to get like a week off, which is good. I mean, sometimes it could be bad because then the team comes out rusty the first game in the next series. But I think definitely doesn't hurt too much. They get to chill a little bit, watch some of the other teams that they could potentially play down the road, and have some extra time to heal their bodies, I guess. But yeah, definitely, I think it was it had its moments, but OKC was clearly the better team.
Right, right, and it's gonna be exciting seeing OKC move on from here. There's a lot of people wouldn't even have like depending on the matchup, right? Like if they face the Lakers, a lot of people thought OKC could have been a first round exit. So seeing that they are moving on and looking very dominant at that is really cool to see. And since they are moving on, they
Yeah.
are gonna face uh, the winner of the Clippers versus Mavericks series, right?
Yeah.
Should we talk
And
about
we
that one
will
next?
talk about that. Sure, I guess,
And
just
then
because we mentioned them.
we
Yeah.
could talk about who we predict will win in this one after.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Um, so Clippers versus Mavericks series. That actually ended just last night because it's just past midnight for us here on the West Coast. Um, so pretty much this series was very shifty. Several blowouts, a few close games, but not a lot of close games. Um, Game one was a blowout in the Clippers' favor. Game three was a blowout in the Mavs' favor, and then game five was matter of fact Clippers' worst playoff loss in franchise history, losing by 30 points and at home. And then game six, the game was close. It was tied at halftime, but then the Mavs put the game away, and they were able to handily eliminate the Clippers last night in six. And I think that honestly, a lot of people want to say that the reason why the Clippers lost this series was because of Kawhi Leonard not playing. And granted, him not being available was absolutely a factor. I mean, Kawhi has proven that when he was when he is healthy, he can still be a really good player in the league. And like he showed that for a good amount of the season. But that being said, I don't think that's a really good enough excuse to justify their loss simply due to the fact that the Clippers have also shown that they are able to win without him. Matter of fact, in this series, Kawhi played in 2 games and they lost both of them. Both of them. And then they won 2 games, both without Kawhi playing. So then after that, in games 5 and game 6, the real reason they lost wasn't because Kawhi didn't play. It's because Harden and Paul George didn't show up. I mean, when one of your superstars is not available to play, your other players need to find a way to step up. And they just didn't do the job. You can't really blame Kawhi's injury for that. It's really to blame those guys. And it's like, they've had Paul George and James Harden and Russ have had histories of folding in the playoffs when it matters most. And people want to say that those guys are different now. They are better. They are no longer in the curse. Well, they didn't prove that them wrong. I mean, they didn't prove that, unfortunately. They all pretty much folded when the Clippers absolutely needed them to show up. So that was a big blow for the Clippers. Another first round exit this year. A huge win for the Mavs. Finally, they beat the Clippers in the playoff series. Now, with the 3 meetings in 5 years, the Mavs are now won 1 and the Clippers won 2. Mavs probably should have won 2 or maybe even all 3, but some things didn't go in their favor. But at least they were able to win this time. And as a matter of fact, now they will be set up to play against the Thunder, as we mentioned in the 1-versus-4 matchup. But before we go over who we believe will win in that series, Memo, any initial thoughts on Clippers versus Mavs?
Yeah, I'm very happy. Like I'm a huge Luca fan, and I hate the Clippers. So the outcome is awesome.
Perfect.
It's perfect. Perfect. Um, I will shout out James Harden a bit just because he did have some good games in there, and he did
He
like
was definitely
better than
the
expected.
most yeah, he was the most consistent superstar
That was
for a
wild.
while. Yeah, but not in the last 2 games. In the last 2 games, he choked again. Like the Harden we know. But credit to him. I mean, he tried his best, honestly. Um, Still not a fan, but yeah.
Yeah, but
Um,
unfortunately, the Harden curse is still there. The playoff
yeah,
P
they
curse is
lost.
still there. Uh, uh, did you see the Twitter videos going around now? But when he was wearing the Where's Waldo costume,
Um, I don't think I saw that actually. Was
you've
that
never
pregame
seen
last
that.
night for game
So for
6?
Halloween
Oh, dude.
this past season, Paul George wore a Where's Waldo costume, and people were bookmarking it because they knew Paul George was gonna choke in the playoffs, and they were gonna use that video for when he chokes in the playoffs, and that's exactly what's going on. They're like, "Where's Paul? Where's Paul in the playoffs? Where did he go?" And like for good reason, like
It's so hilarious.
there was a game in the series where he had 7 points, less points than
Yeah,
Kawhi, who barely played that game due to injury. Like,
yeah,
come on, dude! Like you are supposed to be a superstar. You,
right.
we prime Paul George, like we he was so good going toe to toe with LeBron James in with the Pacers to games to Miami Heat. LeBron James going to Game 7 against him. He was that guy, and now he is a joke. He is a joke. He chokes in the playoffs, and the best thing about him is probably his podcast. That's it, which
Yeah.
is insane. Um, Other than that, though, I will shout out Kyrie Irving, who has an amazing series, who had some killer plays. Like there was that one play that everybody's been talking about, how there was four defenders on him, and he while he was driving to the hoop, he had the ball and somehow twisted his body and was able to make a tough layup while avoiding all of those like eight hands in the air. I saw him drain some crazy threes. Like this guy is showing that he is still one of the best playoff risers in the league, even though he is older and no longer with the Cavs. He is still that guy when you need him to be, and which is good because although Luka wasn't awful, he wasn't as efficient as usual. Yeah, he did contribute in other ways with the rebounding and assist making, and still got his like 20 points in or whatever. But he still wasn't that efficient. So good thing like Kyrie was there to help out. I know some of the games they lost. The only reason why they were close was because of Kyrie. So he's definitely a huge X factor for the OKC versus Mavs series in the second round. I haven't put a lot of thought into this, especially since we just found out the outcome of the Clippers versus Mavs series. But with this in mind now that we know the series, what do you think might happen in the next round against OKC versus Mavs?
Yeah, I'm gonna start by saying this is gonna be a really good and entertaining series. Definitely really excited to watch these teams play. Um, I like both teams, honestly. The Thunder, I like the OKC franchise for a while now. The way they rebuilt was really genius, I thought, by Sam Presti, stockpiling all those draft picks. Now they have the youngest core in the league and have shown that it's paid off. I mean, they were in the bottom of the league for years during the rebuild, as any rebuild team would be. But then after getting all those draft picks, they got a lot of good young talent. And now they are the number one seed in the Western Conference. So shout out to them. So I definitely like how OKC built their team. Also, Shea, one of the more fun players to watch in the league for sure. And then for the Mavs, a really big Luka fan. Also, also one of the more fun players to watch, I think. Um, Kyrie definitely has been balling again and proving like even though he may not be the Cleveland Kyrie, he's still really good. Like definitely still really clutch and making big plays when needed. I think it's gonna be a really close competitive series, and both teams are going to give each other a hard time and make it really nail biting down to the wire. If I were to do a pick, I think I would pick the Mavs to win. I would say Mavs win in either 6 or 7. Either one could go. I think the more realistic route would probably be 6, closing it at home. If it were to go game 7 in loud OKC, maybe the Thunder take it, honestly, because I think both teams are really good, and like the Mavs could be capable to steal a road game in a game 7, but it might be honestly, if it were to go game 7, I don't know who will win. Honestly, like the OKC crowd would be very advantageous to the Thunder. But at the same time, since OKC's team is really young and they are not super experienced in the playoffs, that could give the Mavs the edge if it were to go game 7. But if it were to go game 6 though, and like let's say Mavs are up 3-1, or not 3-2, in a game 6 closeout series chance in Dallas, kind of like what was against the Clippers, and probably Mavs would close that game at home. I'm gonna say Mavs win in 6 for my final prediction. I could see OKC winning in 7, maybe, but I would say Mavs in 6. Memo, initial thoughts on the series?
Yeah, this is gonna be a very exciting series. But yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you. I think the Thunder are gonna take the series. But it's not gonna be easy at all. Luca
Yeah,
is one of the best playoff risers we've ever seen. The way that he destroyed the Suns a few years ago is a perfect example of
that
what he
was
can
awesome.
do. And I'm sure he's gonna bounce back from this Clipper series that just happened. I don't. I think he'll be a lot more efficient and be able to help out his team a lot more. But with that said, um, I do think OKC has the defense to stop, or not stop, but slow down the Mavs. Luke Dort and Shea, they're really great defenders. They could probably handle Kyrie and Luca in the sense of just slowing them down a bit. They're not going to stop them because they are two of the best offensive players in the league. They're one of the best backcourts in the league, but still, they could try to slow them down. And then we also have Chet at the rim, who's gonna be blocking shots. We know that the Mavs thrive on having their big men uh, dunking and lobbing to each other right there, like within like 5 feet of the hoop. We know it's important for their team, and it's gonna be hard for them to be able to score so close to the rim because of Chet's blocking ability. And the OKC Thunder did take the uh, regular season series. I believe 3-1. So they proved that they could beat the Mavs several times this season. Of course, a lot has happened since then, but I do trust OKC's defense. I don't think the Mavs defense, although that it has improved a lot since the trade deadline, is I don't trust it to be able to stop or slow down OKC's Thunder, I guess. So I'll take OKC, but in sevens. It's still gonna be a very tough series, but I'll take them in seven.
Okay. Not mad at that, honestly. Me personally, if I were to talk who I want winning this series, honestly, I don't know because I think I like OKC better as a franchise, but like Luca is probably my favorite player between both teams. So it's like
Same.
pretty much, so it's like pretty much which team do I like better, or which player do I think deserves to win more or most? It's tricky. So honestly, point blank, I don't really mind who wins. I'm cool with either of these teams winning.
Yeah,
But definitely it will be a fun series to watch and it will go down to the wire. But carry on what you were saying just now.
I was just gonna quickly say that I feel like the second round for the West is gonna be so fun to watch. Like we've
Oh
got some
yeah,
really great
for sure.
matchups, and I feel like any of these teams
Definitely.
could go to the finals really. So it's gonna
I
be
think so. Yeah,
interesting to watch what happens. But should we move
I
on
agree.
to Nuggets versus Lakers? Talk about that really quickly.
Yeah. We can talk about the Nuggets versus Lakers series.
It did.
But
It wasn't a
obviously us
sweep.
as Lakers.
It wasn't a sweep. The Lakers got one. They ended the streak. That's basically winning the championship in my eyes. Being able to beat the Nuggets
Yeah.
once, but
I'm gonna
all
I'm gonna say
seriousness,
this.
it's sad. It really is sad.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. Look, we it's kind of hard
You're
to put
so
into words, not
disappointed
gonna lie.
right now.
Yeah, we both are not gonna lie.
Yeah, I am
So
too.
let me just say this, okay? every single game, the Lakers had a big lead and only won one of them. That's pretty bad. Granted, like game five, ironically, it wasn't as big. We only led by 9, yet we only lost by 2. So it's like almost like as the Lakers are better when they don't lead by too much. Come on, bro. But anyways, as Lakers fans, really disappointing series and wait for the season to end. Not as much disappointing about who we lost to, but the way we lost. And as mentioned, blowing a lot of double digit leads. Um and then especially like I think that the only games that we handily got beat were game 1 and game 3. Game 2 we and game 5 lost on Jamal Murray buzzer beaters. Could have won those games. At least one of them. Game 4 we won at home, so that was good. But I really think that at the stage when we lost 4-1, should have at least been 3-2 or maybe even up 3-2. But unfortunately, not a lot of things went in our favor aside from the game 4 win. Um we'll say that's all we can really say at this point. At least we didn't get swept again because, quite honestly, this is another one of those series that should have been closer than what the result was. Last year when we got swept, it could have been 2-2. Maybe Lakers could have even been up 3-1, honestly. And in this year, as mentioned earlier, lost 4-1. Could have been only down 2-3 or even up 3-2. And then yeah, disappointing. Nuggets just proved they were all around the better team, both chemistry wise and obviously coaching wise. For the viewers, obviously, big news yesterday was Darvin Ham getting fired.
Yeah,
Um,
let's go,
I think
baby.
I think it's the right move for sure. My only question is I don't exactly know who would be the right replacement for him. It's unfortunate that last year, okay, last year he didn't look that bad because he took us to the conference finals. So unfortunately, there wasn't no potential fault in not firing him last year because why would you fire a guy after going to the conference finals? Doesn't really make sense. Unfortunately, that was the summer where there were a lot of good head coaches available, like Nick Nurse, even like okay, not as great, but still pretty good, I think. Monty Williams and a few other guys that for some reason I'm blinking out right now. But point blank is there were some good head coaches available last year. If only we could have, if only they would have been available now, man. Like if we could have gotten Nick Nurse, that would be so good. But I don't know who we would replace him with now. There's been a few rumors of like some guys. Maybe we can dedicate a episode for that down the road. But if they're still looking for a head coach, we'll see. But yeah, unfortunately Denver just was the better team because they knew how to finish the games more and definitely gonna be an interesting offseason for the Lakers. What they want to do with their roster, uh, the head coaching situation, all that. But I pretty much gave my very sad overview on this series. Any specific things you would like to add on to that memo?
Not much because he really covered it very well, but yeah, it's disappointing. Not only because like the Lakers almost got swept, but they were in the lead for most of every game, which is crazy. Like they had those big
Yeah.
leads. They had those leads for a while until the fourth quarter hits. That's when Jamal Murray and Jokic and everybody did their thing, and we could have hold a lead to save our lives. It's crazy. Even up to the final few seconds where we think we have it, Jamal Murray just hits a mid range floater for the win. So yeah, it's crazy. I feel like LeBron hates Jamal Murray because he's like really messing up his legacy at this moment.
And yeah, I think Jamal Murray hates the Lakers. That's why he keeps on making big shots against us. I mean, he probably does for good reason. He's probably mad that we beat him in 2020 and ended his bubble run. So unfortunately, he has taken it real personal ever since. Um, at the end of the day, though, so far, because obviously we don't know what's gonna happen this year yet, both teams have won one championship off of beating one another in a playoff run. We beat the Nuggets in 20, well, okay, in this era. We beat the Nuggets in 2020. We win the championship. Nuggets beat us last year in the conference finals. They win the championship. So far it's been even in that perspective of winning championships after beating each other. And we'll see if they win it again this year. But like if we're talking all time, obviously the Lakers have beaten the Nuggets way more times than the Nuggets beat the Lakers in the playoffs. These were last year was the first time they beat us in the playoffs, and then this year is the second time. So recent history is not gonna overrule the all-time history. But unfortunately, in this era, recently they have had our number. But um, we'll see what happens. Honestly, so that being said, Nuggets advance to the semifinals and await the winner of the actually not await because actually the winner of the Timberwolves and Suns was already revealed before Game 5 of the Nuggets and the Lakers. That being said, I think it's a good time for us to talk about that series between the Wolves and the Suns. So obviously this game it ended in a sweep. There were a few close games and a few blowouts. So game pretty much the odd games, games 1 and game 3 were blowouts. And the even games, game 2 and game 4 were the competitive ones. So pretty much Suns had showed their moments and some life that they could have keeping it competitive. Unfortunately for them, it just seemed like after Grayson Allen got injured, they really didn't have a real chance because that guy was draining threes at a crazier percentage all year for them. That was clearly a huge part of their success this season. So once he went down, obviously they still had good shooters on the team, but like they didn't do enough to win even one game in this series. And in the regular season, it looked like as if the Suns were a bad matchup for the Timberwolves. And it's funny because the Suns won the regular season series 3-0. And then the Timberwolves come back to sweep the Suns 4-0 in the playoffs. So technically speaking, the Timberwolves came back from down 3-0 because they were swept 3-0 in the regular season and then they swept them 4-0 in the playoffs. But obviously context being put into place, those regular season games when the Suns handily beat the Timberwolves, 2 out of the 3 games Cat wasn't playing, so obviously that played a major factor. Once Cat became available and at full strength, it was clear like obviously the Timberwolves would be much better. Obviously it's going to be much harder for the Suns to guard them. Like I definitely didn't expect this to be a sweep. Definitely really shocking. Matter of fact, I think both of us actually picked the Suns to win, which is
Yeah, I think I
really
said
funny looking back now.
Suns in 6,
In 6, right?
and that
Yeah, I think that's what I said
aged
too.
like milk.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember we both ended up saying Suns in 6. I said I could see the Wolves winning in 7. And And that was far off too because they swept them. Hey, I'm not complaining. I do like the Wolves and I do not like the Suns. So I'm happy about the result. And the Suns were actually the first team to be eliminated in the playoffs. I didn't mind that either. It's good. They were eliminated before the Lakers. Um, yeah. But that being said, Suns' future is looking really unclear at the moment. Um, the Bradley Beal trade, I don't know what to say there because like obviously Bradley Beal is a really good player, but they sacrificed a lot in that trade. Players wise that were on the roster, not really. I mean, Chris Paul, who is clearly washed now. Uh, I mean, that was an upgrade from Chris Paul to Bradley Beal. But the one thing is they gave up a lot of draft compensation. And so this year they have a second rounder in the 2024 draft. But after this pick, they will not have another draft pick until 2028, which will be 3 years without a single draft pick. It's not really looking very good for that franchise, honestly. We'll see what they do coming in the off season and whatnot. Rumors are potentially that maybe Frank Vogel is going to be fired after just one season. We'll see. Imagine they fire Frank Vogel and they replace him with Darvin Ham. That would be hilarious.
That's what
Just
I was
hiring a bunch
thinking
of
about
Lakers coaches.
because Frank Vogel looks like because the Suns can't really change anything with their roster because of how poorly constructed it is, the lack of draft
Yeah,
picks, lack of trade capital, basically. They can't really do much but fire the coach and replace him. So imagine if we
yeah,
do get Frank Vogel back, which like I liked him when he was with the Lakers, but there's obviously a reason why he's no longer with the Lakers anymore. But he did get us a
yeah,
chip, so I don't know.
yeah,
I think he's a good coach, but we should
yeah.
explore
I
different
think that
avenues.
yeah, I think he has his moments, but just like a little bit inconsistent. Like sometimes some of his rotations are questionable and all that. But definitely not a horrible coach, not a great coach either. But that being said, after knowing that the Timberwolves won their series and the Nuggets won their series, that sets up the 2 versus 3 matchup in the Western Conference semifinals between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. I think maybe we can talk about our predictions for that series now. What you think?
Sure. Like I will say the Timberwolves have grown on me. Just to go over the Suns and Timberwolves series a little bit. Like Ant is looking like a superstar. He did have one bad game where he only scored 15, but he contributed in other ways. And then that game as well, it showed how much the team are willing to work together. If Ant goes down, not playing super well offensively, everybody else would step up. That was the Jaden McDaniels game where he scored 25. Cat would have some poor offensive games, but then other games he would step up as well on the offense and defensive side. So the Timberwolves definitely have a lot of promise. Um, and, out of all the teams that are left, this is probably the one team that can take down the Nuggets because of their interior defense. They have probably the defensive player of the year this year, and most likely 4-time defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert, who will most likely not stop Jokic again, but like slow him down. And then if it gets too hard, Cat can come in and try to use his big old clumsy body to slow him down. He's not a great defender, but he'll be able to do something. He'll basically just use that body of his just to try to slow him down, annoy him a bit. Uh, there's always like Nas Reed and to help out as well, sixth man of the year. So They got bodies, which is what you need in order to slow down Jokic. I mean, that's what the Lakers did during their championship run. We had Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee just rotating, going at Jokic, trying their best to slow him down, and it eventually worked. So, uh, the the Timberwolves have the blueprint, but it's hard to stray away from the Nuggets because they are battle tested. They have a chip under their shoulder and they want to go for a repeat. We've seen how Jamal Murray would play poor halves, but in the second half, he comes through every single time. He'll make a clutch shot if you need him to. I'm sure Ant will do a good job to slow him down because he is a pretty good defender. Um, but then again, so is KCP. KCP can slow Ant down as well. Um, so, the Nuggets have good options when it comes to the defense, when it comes to the offense. And it'll be interesting to see how the Timberwolves will respond. And they did have I kind of forgot this. They had a competitive series last year, not up to Game 7, I believe, but um,
So the series only went to 5 games,
yeah,
but I believe most of the games were pretty competitive. And I don't remember which player it was on the Nuggets. They said something about like the Timberwolves really gave them problems, even though it didn't look like it in
yeah. They
five
said it
games.
was like their hardest matchup, and that was last year when
Yeah,
they weren't
honestly,
as
like
good.
I saw a lot of different players say different things. Like one player said the Timberwolves were the toughest matchup. I believe Jokic before the Lakers series, he said that he thought the Lakers were the toughest matchup despite sweeping us.
Really,
I don't know if he really thought so or if he's just trying to like get in their head or whatnot. But it seems like there were a lot of different viewpoints. Me personally, I feel like it seemed like the Suns gave them the biggest problems last year because that game went to 6 games, which was the most that took the Nuggets last year. But I can definitely see where they're coming from. The 4-1 series last year definitely was closer than what it looked like just hearing 5 games. Um, but that being said, I know you said that you predict the Nuggets to win, but how many games do you think the series is gonna go to?
it's gonna go to 7. It's gonna be a long, fun series to watch. Uh, I don't think
For
the
sure.
Timberwolves will go down uh, in a poor way. They're gonna go down fighting for sure. And it's definitely not gonna be
Definitely.
5 like last year. They are a lot more improved. They are more equipped to be able to defeat the Nuggets. So if there is a team that can beat them, it is the Timberwolves, in my opinion. But I'm still going with the champs here. So Nuggets in 7 for me. What about you?
All right. So to start with a little bit of an overview, definitely gonna be a really good series. Um, Between these two teams in the regular season, they tied 2-2. Both teams winning one at home, one on the road. Um, the Nuggets wins were all by single digits. Ironically, the Timberwolves wins were all by double digits. And I believe the Timberwolves were actually the ones that gave the Nuggets their first loss of the season, just flat out blowing them out in Minnesota. By 21 points, 110 to 89. That was when we pretty much first saw the glimpse of the Timberwolves' potential. And no looking back, they maintained the top seed for a long time. Granted, they did drop down to the third seed, but that's still quite good. So, obviously, in the regular season, both of these teams have shown that they can beat each other. And and I think I agree with your claim that this is gonna be if there was a team that could be the Nuggets, it probably would be the Wolves. Um, Matter of fact, I think that quite possibly this is the real Western Conference Finals matchup that we just happen to get one round early. I think these are the two best teams in the West. Um, Predictions wise, I think this series could go either way. Both teams are really good. Obviously, there's definitely been in the playoffs a little bit more than the Wolves in as far as like the current core they have, and I think that this series is for sure gonna go to the distance. I think it's gonna go 7 games, and I think that the Nuggets would be the easy pick. But that being said, I am not gonna go as the easy pick. I'm gonna pick the Wolves to win in the upset series. I do think this is gonna go 7 games, and winning a game 7 in Denver on the road is a bold take. I think that the Timberwolves can do it, to be honest. Um, it's it's not gonna be easy, that's for sure. But I think that these teams are going to they're definitely like as you mentioned, the big men in the paint, they're gonna get physical for sure. Like Pat and Gobert trying their best to um slow down Jokic, and then obviously Anthony Edwards trying to guard Jamal Murray. And then for Denver, KCP tried to guard the Ant, and then all that. Like defensive matchups definitely will be interesting to see who can really be slowed down or who be able to still go off regardless. Um, at the end of the day, I think it could really go either way, but I'm just gonna take the risk and say Wolves win in 7.
I like your confidence there. Like, I like how bold of a pick that is. I respect it a lot. I feel like there's a lot of good thought and reasoning behind it. But I'm gonna stick with the Nuggets, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
For sure. Yeah. And honestly, like I wouldn't mind either of these teams winning. I do think that a new team winning would be cool though. And also knowing like the Timberwolves history hasn't particularly been very good. A little like underdog comeback story. It's kind of cool in my opinion. So I kind of would rather the Wolves win this series for that cool story part of it, and partially because of the Nuggets beating the Lakers again. But if they do win again, it's all good, honestly. Nonetheless, I think this is gonna be a really good series, and as mentioned earlier, probably the real Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I agree. Should we move on to the East now, since we went over the first round matchups in the West and predicted our second round matchups? Should we move on to the East?
Yeah, I believe it is time to move on to the Eastern Conference. So our first matchup would be the 1 versus 8 between Celtics and Heat. So obviously no Jimmy Butler. Unfortunately, the Heat didn't really have a great chance to win. Um, the Heat won game 2 in a shocking road win where they made 23 threes or whatever it was. But aside from that, every other game were pretty easy wins by the Celtics. Unfortunately, every other game was practically a blowout. I believe the Celtics won all of their games by double digits. Um, and those Heat role players tried their best. Obviously, they lived and died by the three ball. They just never were able to redo the performance they had in game 2, which is unfortunate.
But that's a
And
tough thing to
unfortunately,
do because that was like their playoff best 3 point percentage ever. So
yeah,
That's hard to replicate. And didn't they? Wasn't that a close game still? Like,
But still close. Yeah, they won. I don't remember how many points they won by, but I think they won by 10. But yeah, it was still pretty close. At least they didn't get swept though.
yeah, they gave up
And
some hope after winning game two, but unfortunately,
yeah,
it happened. The Celtics destroyed the Heat. I
yeah,
blame Jimmy Butler for everything. Really, because
yeah.
I okay. So I made
Yeah,
a TikTok today about the series, like a quick TikTok and a commentary. Well, in the video, I was like, Jimmy Butler owes the city of Miami an apology for coasting all season, just to not end up playing due to injury, and the commenter was like, "Oh, why would he need to apologize? It's not his fault for being injured," which is very true. But if Jimmy Butler didn't coast throughout this uh, regular season, if he actually tried, the Heat would have been a lot better, and they would have had a better matchup instead of facing the Boston Celtics super team. So I I blame Jimmy Butler for this first round exit really because he was so confident going into the season. Doesn't care which
yeah.
seed he's in. He's just got to carry them to the next round, and it was all for nothing because he ended up being injured.
Yeah.
I do feel bad for like Bam who was trying all season, was trying all throughout the
Mhm.
playoffs, and ended up getting destroyed by the Celtics. Um, I guess moving forward for the Celtics though, Kristaps might be injured for the second round. He got injured during this
Yeah.
series, which is a blow. But they do again. It's like a super team over there. They still have Al Horford, who can shoot threes. Great defender. Not as tall, but he's still pretty good at his old age. But yeah, for me, I am disappointed that the Heat lost, especially like on paper. Like if before the season started, we would have loved this matchup to happen because we would have
Yeah.
thought the Heat could have had a chance to defeat the Celtics. But after how the season played out and the Jimmy injury being a thing, it was no competition. It was going to be the Celtics at the end of the day. And they did what the first seed were supposed to do. They ended up winning. So, yeah, congrats to them for having a very easy way to the finals because their next matchup is the winner of Cavs versus Magic. If you want to talk about that really quickly, which is not
Yeah.
over yet. They're going to Game Seven. The uh, I guess last night the Magic just beat the Cavs, even though Donovan Mitchell had 50 points. He outscored his entire team because the rest of the team combined had 46 points. They together they had 96 points and still lost to the Magic, who had great contributions from several players. That's insane. I mean, one of the biggest problems for the Cavs, I believe, is their spacing. It's been an issue all season because Mobley and Allen,
Yeah.
even though they're so talented, they're so great at their positions, they clog up the paint. And I think that's why like
Yeah.
Darius Garland has been struggling because he can't slash through the paint, and it's a big reason why their offense has been uh, gross. But like, um, what has your thoughts been about this series, and who do you think is gonna end up winning Game Seven? It's been
Yeah.
like the home team wins the game basically every single time,
Mm.
and I do trust Donovan Mitchell, so I'm gonna say Cavs will win the Game Seven. Either way, like spoiler alert, I do think the Celtics would sweep either team, but I digress.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So definitely, definitely the most boring first round series. These last two games have been a little bit better. The first four games were flat out blowouts by the home game. I mean, the home team in every game. Obviously, game five came down to the wire. Cavs won by one off a Evan Mobley block, I believe it was. I actually didn't watch that game. I just heard some stuff. And then last night's game, as you mentioned, Donovan Mitchell had a big 50 performance, but it wasn't enough from the rest of the team. So Magic were able to tie it 3-3. Um, so far, obviously, the home team has won every game. Um, and I think that going back to Cleveland, it's definitely going to be another close game. I think at home, the Cavs will find a way to win. I wouldn't be shocked if the Magic did win, but I think if I were to pick, I would still go with the Cavs. That being said, yes, unfortunately, I agree with you. I don't think that any of these teams have any shot at winning against the Celtics. I would love for them to beat that team in an upset, but that is just unrealistic, unfortunately. And I think you are also right. Unfortunately, probably the Celtics would sweep either of these teams. I think that the Heat without Jimmy Butler are better than these teams, quite honestly. I mean, you could argue like maybe these teams potentially should be better than the Heat without Jimmy Butler, but being coached by Eric Spoelstra definitely gives them that Heat culture to at least keep the games competitive. And I know it didn't look like it against the Celtics, but like what more can you ask from a team that like didn't have their top superstar and pretty much Bam had to single-handedly carry that team and hope they had the hope that their team would make crazy threes. And even the one game that they did, they only won by 10 points. So you can't really ask for more than that, honestly. These teams, unfortunately, we might as well talk about Celtics versus whoever, Cavs or Magic. And both of us agree that it's not going to be close, unfortunately. And probably the Celtics will sweep either of these teams, unfortunately. Um, so maybe our best bet would be one of those Eastern Conference teams in the 2 versus 3 matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals. Hopefully, they can give the Celtics some problems. We'll get there in a little bit. But yeah, I think that the Cavs probably will win game 7 at home, but it won't matter because they'll play the Celtics in the next round.
Out
That
of
being said,
oh sorry,
go ahead.
sorry. Out of either team, Cavs or Magic, which team do you think would be able to win one game against the Celtics?
Okay, I will say maybe the Cavs because of Donovan Mitchell's ability to go off.
I agree.
And yeah, and quite honestly, like if the Magic were to play against the Celtics, I could see them winning one game too, maybe. But it would have to be like a really hard fought grind out. Probably win by like 2 points, and then the other games are gonna get destroyed. And it would definitely have to be a home game because I don't see them winning in Boston, unfortunately. Um, but I think that I don't know what the regular season series results were for these teams against the Celtics in the regular season, but I do remember the Cavs did have that one really cool comeback win against the Celtics when they were down by like 20, and Dean Wade was making crazy threes in the comeback, and those refs almost bailed Tatum out on like that foul call, but fortunately for once refs made a really W move by overturning that foul because clearly Jason Tatum did not get fouled. He is just like selling those plays like crazy. So hopefully if the Cavs can play like that game more often, not going down by 20, but rather finding a way to just beat the Celtics via like 3-point shooting. Um, they can probably take one game maybe, but that being said, I don't see much else from them or the Magic if they were to play Boston, unfortunately. Um, but I believe that would be a good time for us to go to the next matchup in the first round. And I think this is probably easily the best matchup of the first round. And that was the 2 versus 7 between the Knicks and the Sixers. So, a stat a stat line that I saw. Total points scored in the series, the Knicks scored 650 and the Sixers scored 649. That is literally like
That's so
as
crazy.
close as things can get. It is, yeah. And the crazy part about it is that it was only a 1 point difference. It did not go 7 games. It went 6 games, which is still good, but like it could have been better in terms of like moving to the distance. But that being said, that series definitely could have been in game 7. Obviously, if something shaked out a little bit different. The Sixers blew game 2 with a little bit of bad officiating at the end. We all know that. And then the Knicks blew game 5 when they were up by 6, was under 30 seconds remaining. So a lot of things could have went different in some of the other games that went one way versus another. But that being said, at the end of the day, I still don't. I think the series did not disappoint. A lot of back and forth. Obviously, these longtime rivals, we all know about New York versus Philly sports rivalries. The cities do not like each other. There's a lot of like it's personal between the cities, and this series obviously not really like crazy fights or whatnot, but like the players definitely getting at it a little bit and taking it personal on the performance wise for sure. I think is the best way to go. Like Jalen Brunson putting up huge numbers. He scored like what 40 in a game, I think. Um Joel Embiid, he had his playoff career high, but it was like a 50-point performance or whatnot. Um those really big performances was really what made it fun, I think. Um Game 6, the Sixers had a chance to force game 7. I mean, like the Knicks jumped out to a really crazy first quarter lead, going up by like 20, over 20, and the Sixers were able to come back, pull it close to single digits, and then they even took the lead by as much as 10 in the third. But then the Knicks came back, made a run, and they found a way to win. I will say one of the bigger reasons that the Sixers did not force a game 7 was Tobias Harris, man. That guy was trash. Did not score a single point in game 6. Um, Sixers fans hate that dude right now. Matter of fact, they probably hated him like for a long time
Yeah,
now.
for a while
He
now.
had some Yeah, he's had some good seasons like previous years, but this season he just seemed washed, honestly. And um obviously he always tries to like clap back at the fans that want him traded, saying like if you want me traded you're gonna miss out on so and so. And then what happened? He didn't really back it up. um as Jimmy Butler said, Box Harris over me. Yeah, that was a really bad move. Yeah, but that being said, I remember I actually did predict the Knicks to win in 6 games, and I nailed it. And I'm happy, honestly. I do like the Knicks better. Um, so that will put them to face the winner of Bucks versus Pacers. Before that, though, Memo, any additional thoughts on this series?
Well, I did predict the Sixers were gonna win, so I ended up looking like a failure on that one. But Yeah, I had too much faith in Embiid. Like he really impressed me during the regular season before his injury. He like actually grew on me because this man was scoring like crazy. He had a 70-point game. He was actually looking like a genuine MVP. Unlike his like pity MVP season, he looked even better than that season. So I was like, maybe he'll go back to that once he gets some games into the playoffs. And he did. He scored a 50-point game. And he did really well against a very aggressive uh, Knicks defense. Like, it is impressive what he did, but at the end of the day, like, I'm glad that they lost after his dirty play, his antics on the court, the amount of flopping and tantrums that he throws. It got so annoying this series, and I know
Free
it's
throw
been
merchant.
the free throw merchant stuff. Like I know it's been a thing, but like seeing it at the biggest stage, it got annoying really quickly.
Yeah,
Um, so I'm glad he ended up losing. And he did have some great games, but he also had like a game with 9 turnovers, so he was not perfect
yeah,
at all. Shout out to Tyrese Maxey for like having some big games. Of course, one of the games he had some very clutch moments where he scored like 7 points in like 25 seconds in order to get the uh, Philly win, but it was not enough
yeah.
because the Knicks they just wanted more. They are more scrappy. Uh, they just have random role players come through to do unbelievable stuff like DiVincenzo. Hart had several great 3-point shooting games, several 20-point games. He had a game where he had 17 rebounds as a guard. That's crazy. Brunson started off slow this series, but he really picked things up and looked like an incredible player, just like last playoff series, last year when they were facing the Cavs. So yeah, the Knicks definitely surprised me. They impressed me, and honestly, I feel like the Knicks is what the Miami Heat thinks they are, because I feel like the Knicks play like they're the toughest, the nastiest, the most hardworking team in the league. Uh, I feel like they define that definition a lot more than the Heat. So it will
I
be
agree.
interesting seeing them moving forward, and they really impressed me. Like I feel like a spoiler alert, I feel like they could go far, this
I agree. And
postseason.
yeah, a matter of fact, in the Eastern Conference, I think definitely if there is any team to have a chance to take down the Celtics, it's the Knicks.
Yeah,
They are definitely up there. But that being said, that means the Knicks advance and they would play the winner of the Bucks versus Pacers. I believe that would be a good time for us to talk about this series now. So, obviously we know heated rivalry brewing here. These teams have really started to not like each other, mostly this season. I mean, obviously they're in the same division, so naturally they're already rivals. But a lot of heated moments. Like obviously we know about the regular season, what happened, getting added into with one another, the in-season tournament, all that. But the Bucks, unfortunately, really didn't have a real chance once Giannis went down, and Dame also got getting banged up. Bucks role players, they tried their best. I mean, they were able to help the Bucks win a very shocking and impressive game 5 at home without Giannis and Dame. That was pretty cool to watch. But unfortunately, it was inevitably it was inevitably unsustainable because you can only ask for role players to show up like that, like for much. You can't really expect them to do that every game. And unfortunately, we also seen like some of those Bucks players who really need to step up. They've done it, but lack of maturity really came to haunt them at the end. Like obviously game 4 without Giannis and Dame, they needed other guys to step up. Like Bobby Portis could have been one of them. What does he do? He couldn't keep his cool, gets ejected in the first quarter.
That was so
Like
stupid.
your team needed you, man. Just find a way to hold back and talk trash after the game, maybe if you win. Come on now. So that was dumb. But then, like, adding on to immaturity for that team, Patrick Beverly in game 6, unacceptable behavior on the bench. Throwing basketballs at the fans. Like, if you guys need a little bit of context, he threw a ball at a fan. The fan threw it back at him. And then he threw it, chucked it hard back at that fan. And like, I know the Pacers were like heckling and whatnot, but come on, man. Like, just these are just a bunch of randos. You mean to tell me that you can't take at least a little bit of trash talk from them? Um, as
It
long as they don't cross the
was,
line.
yeah, I thought it was kind of crazy how after chucking it at the woman, the guy that grabbed the ball just gives it back to Patrick Beverly. Why would he think
Yeah,
that's a good idea? And then
I don't
Patrick
know
Beverly
why he
just
did that.
chucks it back at him even harder.
Yeah, I think it's funny because like, why would you give it back to the guy that threw it to you? If anything, give it to the ref
Yeah,
or something
exactly.
like that. Yeah, but that being said, not only did Pat Bev do that like interaction with fans, but post game he declined to answer a question from a female reporter simply due to the fact that she was not subscribed to his podcast. Now, I feel like that was just an excuse because he didn't want to talk or some other side reasons. I don't know why. But definitely a really weird action by him there. We all know Pat Bev. He's the type of guy that like he tries to get in other players' heads. He's the type of guy that you love to have him on your team, but you hate him if you're going up against him. Um, but honestly, what Russ said was not particularly wrong. Pat Bev out there trying to trick Yao, thinking that he plays defense, but not really doing all that. Honestly, he does play defense, but a lot of it is all talk, not as much action. But yeah, unfortunately, the Bucks really just didn't have a real chance with their superstars not healthy. I think that if they were healthy, the Bucks could have won the series. I mean, after all, they did take it to 6. So if they had Giannis, I think it definitely would have at least won 7 if the Pacers were able to win some of their games. But I think maybe the Bucks could have won it in a shorter series. Like maybe Bucks would have won a 6 or 5.
Yeah, it definitely would have
Could have.
helped if they had one of the greatest players of all time on their team, Giannis. But unfortunately, due to injury, he wasn't available. And yeah, such a disappointing season for the Bucks. The regular season was
Yeah.
a mess. Dame and Giannis was never able to mesh and play well together. They fired the coach even though they were the second team just to hire Doc Rivers of all people. That
Um.
basically like nail in the coffin ended the season there because they ended up doing
Yeah.
worse with Doc as their coach. And yeah, due to injury, Giannis couldn't play. Um, Dame couldn't play. How many games? Like one, 2 games he missed out on?
I think he missed 2 games. Yeah, I think it was game 4 and game 5 he didn't play, but he played the other
Yeah,
games.
he played game 6. He did well in game
Yeah.
one and two. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was not enough. Even though he had flashes of Portland Dame, uh, it was not enough to beat the Pacers, who um, are looking great. Like I'm a Halliburton fan. Even though I wanted him to be a bit more aggressive out there scoring wise, he did what he needed to do to get those wins. Pascal Siakam is looking like a great fit over there. Miles Turner had an amazing series, had several decent high scoring games. He's always blocking shots, getting those rebounds, doing what you expect your center to do in the playoffs. He was phenomenal. But yeah, I just want to give the biggest shout out to both Chris Middleton and Brooke Lopez for trying their best to keep the Bucks above water, but mostly Chris Middleton. Like a lot of people thought he was washed after his injury, and didn't expect much from him, but he really tried to get the Bucks to win the series. Of course, he had that like 42 point game where he was hitting clutch three after three, just clutch basket with Damian Lillard on the floor. He was like out clutching Dame, which was crazy. Like he really uh, put his heart and soul out there on the court, and he earned my respect for sure. Like I thought he was phenomenal, and I wish there was a better outcome for them, but it's tough. The Pacers is a tough team. Of course, we know that the Pacers beat the Bucks 4 times in the regular season, so we knew it was gonna be a challenge for the Bucks, but it became a bigger challenge since Giannis wasn't there. Dame was injured a bit. Bobby Portis couldn't handle his temper. Pat Bev was just doing cardio out there, as Russ would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to Chris Middleton. Shout out to Brooke Lopez. He had some good games too. Uh, but when you're relying on like Danilo Gallinari in 2024 to come through and get buckets, yeah, you're screwed. You're fucked. Like there's no other way to put it.
Yeah. You know, there's those funny memes with like the head coaches and like the players. Like for example, they use the pictures of the players and the head coach from like the career stats. It's like, Coach, we're down by 20. You should do something. My man, Danilo, go in the game. Like
That's
those memes,
so
it's
crazy.
accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah, like how like coaches have player favorites. Um, for Darvin Ham, last year it was Dennis Schroeder. This year is
Torian
Torian Prince.
Prince. Yeah,
For Doc Rivers, it's Danilo Gallinari.
that's
Come on,
crazy.
man.
Did you hear the heckler in
Yeah.
Game 6?
Um, I heard about it, but I didn't really hear what the
He
heckler
was
said
so
though.
funny. Like when Bobby Portis was like at the free throw line, he was like, "Your eyes are slightly too big for your head," because of the it's like crazy eyes he has. When Danilo
Oh yeah,
Gallinari was on the line, he was like, "You need to get a new haircut," because he had this atrocious mohawk. And then the funniest one
yeah,
to me was like actually the nicest one was when Chris Middleton was shooting free throws, and he was like, "I respect you a lot, but I hope you missed both of the free throws." It's like it was so silly. So I really
yeah,
liked it. It was funny to me.
yeah. I'm guessing Pat Bev probably didn't get any free throws that game, right?
I don't know. I just saw a
Yeah, because I'm gonna say like
compilation.
yeah, because I'm gonna say if he did, I'm sure there were plenty of good potential heckler things to say for him,
You're
just like for
Walmart Drew
Bobby.
Holiday.
Yeah. Oh, that's true, honestly. Like he looks like a fake wannabe Drew Holiday,
A
wearing Drew
bootleg.
Holiday's old number, similar hairstyle, also wearing the headband. Clearly nowhere as good though. Yeah. Damn. But yeah, it was a really disappointing season for the Bucks. Obviously, both of us, we like the Bucks as a team, so we were rooting for them to go somewhere. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. Injuries really did hit them bad at the end, and I do agree with you that huge respect to Chris Middleton for stepping up when they needed to. I've been a Chris Middleton fan pretty much for a while, at least dating back to like the 2021 playoff run he had where he was really good. Um So definitely happy to see him prove all those doubters wrong and show that he still got it. Um, this offseason is gonna be, I guess it's gonna be a little bit of trick for the Bucks because I know they have some free agents on their current team. They have to decide on like who they want to bring back and who they don't want to bring back because I believe they do have some cap issues. And who knows about the head coaching situation? I mean, they're already paying three head coaches at the moment. They're still paying Bud, they're still paying Adrian Griffin, and they're paying Doc Rivers. If they fire Doc, they're going to be paying four head coaches at the same time. That wouldn't be good. So, unfortunately, I think they might be keeping Doc Rivers. And that means that they are not going to win anything, most likely.
Yeah, I'm definitely
So,
afraid for the Bucks' future. Not gonna lie, I have no
yeah.
idea what they do from here.
Yeah. I will say this, though. The future is looking really murky for that team. At least they did win a championship. Some of those other teams can't say the same. Like similar, I will say similar for the Lakers. Even though recent history we had some disappointing seasons, that one championship slightly makes us able to like sleep at night a little bit better. Like obviously we would like to have one more with that really good duo we have, but at least one is better than zero. Um, but that being said, Pacers advancing sets us up for the 2 versus 3 matchup versus where they will be going up against the Knicks in the semifinals. And I think that's gonna be a pretty good series. Um so obviously these two teams, old school rivals. Back in the day, those matchups when the Knicks had Patrick Ewing, the Pacers had Reggie Miller. Their infamous scene where the Reggie Miller scored like I don't remember the exact number of points he did at the end, but like pretty much back to back threes, and the Knicks choked like a lead. And he mocked Reggie Miller mocked Spike Lee on the sideline with the choke signal. That's like one of the classic clips we see.
It's so
Um,
cold. Yeah, for sure, classic.
yeah, definitely. Like we all know it for the wrong reasons, mocking one of the Knicks super fans. But that being said, old rivals meet again. Both of these teams, having really impressive seasons. Obviously, the Knicks last year they were pretty good. They were able to shock some people too. This year, they arguably look better. They probably do look better, matter of fact. Pacers obviously got a lot better this season. Last year, not making the playoffs. This year, making it pretty high. That being said, I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be competitive. But I do think that the Knicks are the better team. I think that I think that this honestly, I do not think that the Nick. No, I don't think that the Pacers are as good of a team as the Sixers. Honestly, so probably it's not gonna be as hard for them than the Philly series was. Honest. So I would say the Knicks can beat them. It could maybe go six again, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Knicks ended them in five. But if I were to make a final prediction, I think I'm just gonna say the Knicks win in five. I think that Indiana will win either game 3 or game 4 at home, but the Knicks should win the other ones. And I think that there will be some close games for sure. But I just think that the Knicks are clearly the superior team. Um, Obviously Jalen Brunson having a breakout season. Um, Josh Hart been playing really good too. And then Dante DiVincenzo making big plays. Those former Villanova college classmate teammates now all on the same team. That's pretty cool, honestly. Um, and then OG obviously also making big plays, and even some of the lesser known names like McBride, the guy that was in the dunk contest. Um, yeah, I think the Knicks are looking good, and as mentioned earlier, I believe that they are the biggest threat to the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. So I think they will have no problem against the Pacers. Final prediction: the Knicks in five. Memo, what are your thoughts on this series?
I think I might agree with you. Like, as much as I like the Pacers, I like Tyrese, and I have been impressed with what they've done so far. Uh, they lack defense, like, in a major way, and that is definitely something that the Knicks don't lack. They got the defense to slow down the Pacers' high speed offense, and they got Brunson, who is an offensive powerhouse, and I don't really think the Pacers have anybody to slow down Brunson at all. So I feel like it's disrespectful saying five. I want to say six out of respect, but I, I don't know. It's gonna be hard for the Pacers. It really is. So I think I'll stick with you and uh, go. I almost said Pacers. Knicks in five.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. Like, I wanted to say more games because I also do like the Pacers as a team. I don't want them to. I mean, like 4-1 is obviously not good because you only won one time and the other team beat you three more times and you beat them. Obviously, it's not as bad as a sweep, but like obviously we've seen like there are several series instances where the series really is a lot closer than the series indicates. I think it's possible this one could be like that, but ultimately speaking, I think probably it won't go too many games. Probably the Knicks for sure are the better team. It's nonetheless, it should be a fun matchup to watch. I think obviously the guard matchup between Brunson and Halliburton. Look forward to that. Um, and then obviously big men like Mitchell Robinson versus Miles Turner, and definitely gonna be fun. Look forward to it for sure. But yeah, I think that the Knicks will win in 5 games, as we both agree.
Yeah, and I guess that's it. We went through every first round series and then did our predictions for each second round series. Is there anything you wanted to touch upon before we close things out, or do you think we covered everything?
I think we pretty much covered everything, honestly. Um, there's definitely some good matchups being set for the next round. Um, I believe once again the most boring matchup will involve either the Cavs or the Magic. Unfortunately, aside
Yeah,
from that, I think all the other matchups overall should be fun. I think Nuggets and Wolves takes the cake. That one is, as mentioned several times earlier, very likely the real Western Conference matchup that we happen to get one round early. So it'll be really fun. Um, but definitely, we both are looking forward to just watching good basketball in general and keep you guys entertained. Um, Obviously, as mentioned earlier, Memo has been frequently posting TikTok videos and also a little bit of YouTube short clips too every now and then. So definitely stay alert on that. And then we continue to do our thing on the weekly overviews. Probably next week will be more of the same. Assuming that probably these series will not be over yet by then, we will probably just be overviewing what has happened in the series so far. Because the conference finals will likely not be announced until like at the following episode, I would assume. But nonetheless, look forward to it. Hope you guys enjoy our content. Hope you guys enjoy the playoffs. and stay tuned.
Yeah, we got some exciting basketball coming up, so that means we got exciting podcast episodes as well coming up. So make sure you are subscribed if you're watching on YouTube. If you're following us on uh, podcast platforms, that is awesome. Thank you. Whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we we appreciate your follows, and we'll appreciate a 5-star rating as well. If you could do that, that'd be great. Again, check out our socials. I've been tweeting on Twitter. I've been making TikToks about the series. So if you want at least my thoughts on these series ending a lot quicker than every Monday, and then check out the TikToks because I although I'm behind, I still need to make a few because several series have ended recently. They're fun and there's sometimes some good conversations in the comments, so I recommend that. But yeah, I think that's it. Any closing words, or are we good?
I think we are good. Um, as both of us mentioned, it's a pleasure to have you guys as our viewing audience. Thank you guys for the support. If you like our content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. But that's it for us. So thank you for watching. Bye bye.